Yo from Rancho Cucamonga. I took the wrong train, ended up stranded out here, so I guess we will talk about the last shroom trip. Now, I will just dive in, but I'm gonna preface with I haven't done trip reports because I haven't felt like I had the authority to report on them, which is funny because when I just first started tripping, I did it because I was so fascinated by how weird it was that I just did trip reports to kind of try to make sense of it, and then later I overthought it, I'm not enough of an authority to explain what happened and whatever. So here we are. The last trip was at an off-grid site near Death Valley. It was still about an hour away. This town was called Ridgecrest, California, and I'm really glad we found the spot. Because originally, Mike, we were talking about going to Yosemite or Death Valley, and that would have been sick, but we ended up just posting up here at this Airbnb.
Within itself, with a language we all understand, with an equal opportunity for all to sing, dance, and clap their hands.
And when it comes to a spot like this, it is expensive, but that shit's awesome. It's even cooler than any kind of attraction because we're able to just stay put there, be disconnected from any fucking people, and just be able to really kind of trip in there. So I already forget what he said, but I think he said that shit was like a square mile of just desert land, and this was a complete off-grid site. So there's a generator there and also a solar panel which actually powered all the stuff.
Well, just because the record has a groove, don't make it in the groove.
It's called Eco Cabins on Airbnb, and the hosts were pretty chill. They just live kind of on the far part of this desert property, and then they just live in a trailer, and so they keep this as a business, and they also rent out UTVs, ATVs. That's just kind of the preface. This is kind of turning into an Airbnb tour as well, but they had this garage door set up where you could have it completely open, you could see out into the stars and all that shit. So this was a perfect setup for the trip. We did the whole Challenger adventure. We're exploring the mines and stuff and randomly going off-road, and then we come back here at the end of the night, cook up a couple steaks, and then just dig in. I forgot to bring a scale, but I think we must have been about 5 grams each. We mixed the strains of the Golden Teachers with the White Albino, and I'd never done the Golden Teachers. I had the White Albino before. My plug is amazing. Oh, fucking...
Downtown is scheduled to arrive on track 2 in 10 minutes.
So this shit is definitely super powerful.
Don't make it in the groove, but you can tell right away it's Dr. A when the people start to move.
Basically, we eat it down, and I feel like the come up was super fast, and my stomach was too full. I feel like I ate too much that day. I was stuffing myself. I had a nap earlier in the day. So basically, my whole trip was glued to the bed. And I've had quite a lot of trips like this, especially heavy doses. It's it starts and I just know how it's going. I just go to the bed, I glue down into it because I can feel my fucking insides flapping around, and it just keeps me from being too nauseous and throwing up, because I'm super easily nauseous, just in general. So I kept it together. We ate the shrooms with, I feel like we had some kind of dessert or something, some kind of sweet thing to eat it with, because I also am kind of nauseous at just the taste of shrooms. I feel like it's kind of nasty. These weren't that bad, but it's still kind of like, even just thinking about it is it's a little tough to chew down. So already I can't remember this shit. I feel like we had some kind of chocolate or something, but then again, I don't even remember that.
They can feel it all over. They can feel it all over me. They can
So, this was a very loose trip. Like, I couldn't even describe too much in detail. I just know that the whole thing blew over while I was on the bed. Maybe I shouldn't have eaten so much, like, right before. I could feel literally, like, my insides processing all of that. And when I would get up to pee, it's like, I could feel like it was enjoyable to be outside, but it was also, my stomach was, like, totally twisting and turning, so, it was just a little wiggly, but, hard to even pick apart details. I know one thing for sure was I was seeing some crazy geometry along the stars and, like, patterns in the stars, and I was seeing, like, the 369. I was seeing, like, the flower of life. It was almost like a force field, like a net of the fabric of reality itself. When I would look, I would see, like, the flower of life literally, like, netted around me. It's like I was seeing pixels, and I was seeing the projection of a simulation in front of me. And it was like flower of life was this infinite pixel alignment in front of me, and when I looked at the stars, it's like they would kind of connect in these 369 patterns.
Until further notice, Metrolink is suspending OC and IEOC service between Laguna Niguel and Oceanside due to continued movement to the right of way.
They can feel it all over. They can feel it all over.
So Mike was walking around on the pebbles, and he kept saying, "Oh man, it feels like the beach over here." And he kept saying that, like, there's a certain spot, once you walk out past here, the sand gets really comfy. And this is where I think it's really trippy, the, like, mind over matter kind of thing, because the next day we checked, the sand was definitely not beachy. It was like rough ass sand that's, like, impossible to walk on barefoot, but just because he's tripping, it's like his feet just kind of, like, went with the flow, and he said it just felt so comfortable on his feet. And that's one thing I realized, if I planned my eating better, if I didn't gorge myself, like, so close to the trip, I would have been out walking around and shit. And we waited until sunset. Basically, we watched as the sunset and the stars came out. That's a great way to do it. That's how I did it last time with Ashley, and these trips were similar, and I'm glad that I found myself back in the desert, because I know some people are into like tripping at raves and stuff, and to me that's like a fucking nightmare. I want to be as far away from any other human beings as possible, unless of course we're, like, tripping together. I want to be as far away in the middle of fucking nowhere, like, disconnected, off grid with the earth, and speaking only to the earth and, you know, universe itself. I don't want to be around any kind of human scenario there. So I probably would have liked to do some more walking around, but I was like I was riding that rocket ship so hard. This was probably actually the strongest dose I've done on shrooms. I used to do crazy dose, like acid, as a teenager, and I haven't even done a big dose in a while for acid, but, like, this was probably the most I've ever done on shrooms, and I don't know if it was too much, or a mix of the strains, or just this trip specifically, but it wasn't a lot of retaining. It was mostly like I was grasping onto the bed, and I was managing pretty well, but I was just, like, blasting off, and it wasn't like I even remembered much. It was just like I just remember this ride, and then it was like it basically, like, went over. But it was absolutely good, and it's weird how that works, that, like, I didn't retain anything specific, but it still felt like putting myself back into shape. It's like it was a challenge. It's like it shaped my mind back up, and the afterglow was amazing. So again, the rocks were really hard. Mike was just walking around on it, and he was like lying down on the sand and stuff. It's cool that like on this Airbnb property, there's a lot you could do. You could just walk around for like a mile straight, and you would still be on the Airbnb property, which is pretty cool. There's also a fire pit. Fire pit was epic. We threw the logs on there. We had to buy them earlier in the grocery store. And I remember earlier we're like, oh man, we gotta buy wood at the grocery store. Especially because, Mike's from the East Coast. You just pick that shit up from like a neighbor or whatever. So, very good that we did get firewood, because we ended up sitting by that for the afterglow. That's like, it was literally like from when I ate it to the end of the trip. I was just like, on the rocket ship ride, I had complete loss of time. I felt like, it was already going to be morning again, that the sun was going to come up. But the sun just really never came up for like ever. I don't think it ever did come up. I think we went to sleep in time before it did. So this was like really well timed trip. And that's when we started the blaze too. It's cool because Mike is like super heavy stoner. I had been getting a bit heavier at this point, and the trip actually helped us reset to a point that we weren't overdoing it, we weren't over craving it. So we didn't smoke at all during the whole trip, and then right as the afterglow came, it's like I brought out this infused joint. It felt so good that we had this stuff on deck, and we sparked that around the campfire. That was an amazing moment, and it did kind of like bring us down. It brought us more to like a human physical realm level. So there's that, and then I think we ended up taking a dab too. Maybe we took a dab before it started. The property had 2 TVs, each room had one, and DVD players and a bunch of DVDs. It would actually be fun to check that out, but we didn't even use any of the electronics. I don't think we even used any AC, because they had a little units for that. Woof. Oh shit, that's a totally white hair. That's crazy.
On Monday, October 24th,
whoa,
Metrolink will
that's
implement
insane.
a
It's
new schedule with
the whole
updates
thing
to
too.
the
It's,
Ventura County and Orange County
I almost want
lines.
to keep that
No other lines have scheduled
long
changes.
ass totally white hair. That's
For
so
more
weird.
info, visit metrolinktrains.com or call or text 800-371-5465.
So it's fun. These are like details I picked out. It's not like I have a real linear, like, this is what I learned, this is what happened. It's like, it did kind of blur together, and it was ultimately pleasant. And Mike would keep laying down in the in the sand, and he kept talking. And the spatial audio was so weird, because he was like, like 50 feet out, but it sounded like he was just standing right in front of me. And it was interesting to hear kind of like his perspective. He's lived a whole life. He's now come to like the retirement period, and it's a cool perspective. Like a real New Yorker, worked his ass off, electrician. So he just had like lots of little good stories and lessons and stuff. And I spent most of this trip just kind of listening. I really didn't have much to say.
337 service to LA Union Station
Oh,
is scheduled
that's
to
me.
arrive on track 1 in 10 minutes.
Perfect. I mean, that was overall the gist of it. In some ways, I feel like it's not even worth sharing, but this was an incredible experience, and I do thank Mike for coming out here. Last year, we went to some Dead and Company shows and stuff, and I did prefer this, because he actually came in town for a Roger Waters concert, and he invited me and everything. It didn't work out with my work schedule, and I'm actually feel totally fine with that, because to see Roger Waters, like Pink Floyd, that's super epic. Sounds dope, but like, it just didn't work with the schedule, and I much preferred this, like, just being alone out in the wilderness than a concert setting. While I used to almost have some kind of FOMO around that, I know for me personally that's just not really my vibe. Like, respect to everyone that enjoys things, but like for me, I really do like being solo. I seriously appreciate having my own like energy and not being intruded by other energies. To me, that's like golden. That's the best. That's why I really like tripping, because it's like to really soak in the present and to not be interfered by other energies, and to just really like kind of me and the universe, me and the stars, what do we converse to each other with. And I remember when I would get up to pee, it was wacky. It was like I look at the stars and they're all like bouncing around, and it looked like it just looked like a weird 60 frames per second animation. So I did get some visuals and stuff. Hard to describe. There's the Flower of Life stuff. I was definitely getting tracers. Like, we'd sit around the campfire, and as Mike was talking, he was going like this. I could see his like hands tracing around and his like body tracing. That was totally cool. But mostly, it's like just nice to hear stories and stuff from him, and I think it was a just important thing to, I guess, do this kind of thing. A trip with other people and talk about stuff, because I could try to relay things to you, but overall it was a lot of it couldn't be relayed. It's just like it was that moment, and it was special, and in some ways I can't take that and show you, but I can tell you that it was definitely an interesting experience. I think I still kind of can see this like prison planet theory, and who knows what the answer is, who knows what we're meant to be for, but I ultimately definitely have faith that like everything works out and everything's just going not even according to plan, but just things just are going. This train, oh no, that's the other track. I was gonna say it's hella early. I guess it's time for me to wrap this up. I didn't have much else to say. It was an excellent trip. I was just mouthing words. One thing too was the first night was full of bugs. So we're like, oh, how is this gonna be? There's like crickets everywhere. There's all these tiny little bugs that were kind of annoying. But that's because the valley was flooded. And so on the day that we were tripping, there was no more bugs. They just all disappeared. It was perfect. Also, temperature amazing, because it's hot as fuck in the day. There's the sun, but like tripping at night, it's amazing. It's not even cold, but just like perfect. Just slightly almost cool. We're around the campfire, and I guess that was a big anchor point too. Was like nothing like a campfire. And oh man, that opens up a whole thread. It's like I haven't been around a campfire like that. I mean, I did earlier in the year with some family, but like that was a big thing for me as a kid. We would do that shit all the time. Even with my neighbors, like us as kids, we would just have a big ass campfire that's in North Dakota, right in the fucking driveway, and I definitely miss that. And there's little things like that are like just some of the best things in life, just sitting around a campfire. And I just thought back to like ancient humans, like first finding this fire, and like this is warmth, this is safety, like we are appreciating this. This is the light in the darkness of the night with wolves and creatures, and this is what is keeping us safe from the chaos that is out there. But here we are safe because of this fire. I mean, I can mostly just leave it at that, but...
M326 service to San Bernardino downtown is scheduled to arrive on track 2 in 10 minutes.
I guess that is about it. I do think it's a trip that, like, I only know Mike because, he found me through the videos, and, So all the time it trips me out how Stoned Alone incorporates into my life, because it's like, this shit's awesome. I've just experienced so much stuff just because I do Stoned Alone, and then like just randomly like experiences happen through that. It's totally unexplainable. And I definitely feel like doing the right thing when creating and doing Stoned Alone. So ultimately, that's where it's at. I feel very good with where I am, because the period of time that I wasn't tripping, I didn't trip because I knew I wasn't aligned with my life. I wasn't doing the right thing. I was like hanging around the wrong crowd. Like, it's just like I didn't trip because I knew I would realize, like, you know, what are you doing, bro? Like, I'm just not in the right place. And so this trip was like really solid and like totally just aligned. There's nothing else I could say, that just like I'm just aligned with myself. I know what I'm trying to do, and I'm on the right path of it, and it's like it just feels really good that everything clicks together and everything is all right. There's not a single grain of sand that is out of place in the entire universe, and I just felt very comforted by that. And I would say recently, past couple trips, I do get a very religious experience. It doesn't have to be too like defined, but like I definitely do feel like connection with everything, and you know, creation and God and whatever, and all of that. And I just ultimately feel like things are right. You know, they're not all right, but things are right. So that's how I ultimately feel. And I guess that's about it. I think the next day we just drove back, and I went back to work, and now my train's here. So I'm gonna stop this short. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you around in the next time. Stay trippy, have fun, keep it up.